report a shot fired at officers trying to stop the vehicle.
We have one officer shot.
We got shots fired. Sounded like an automatic firearm.
Copy, code red, shots fired.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the warehouse.
Now it's Shots Fired with your host, Tj Kirgin, Dinah Death Milberg, and the lovely Krystal Powers.
What up, guys? So, not Tj Kirgin, obviously. He is out for the week, so I will be filling in. This is Dinah Death Milberg here, filling in with Justin. He's joining us today. I love this song. It's just, it definitely...
I'm pumped up.
It's going to get people's attention.
This makes me want to go stack some bodies.
Agreed. Which is going to be the topic of conversation today. So, as you guys very well know, if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, half the time we just kind of pull this out of thin air. We don't really come in with a plan. We just kind of see where it goes. I actually have a vague sort of plan. So, before I start, if anybody wants to call in, give their input, ask questions, theorize, whatever, give us a call at 636-224-6300. That's 636-224-6300. So, a common discussion we have amongst us over at TacticalSht is, especially with the war between Russia and Ukraine, the increasing tensions with China, with North Korea, with the United States and Russia. Anybody knows, if you're a gun guy, you've probably watched Red Dawn. So, we have kind of Red Dawn scenarios we discuss on a regular basis at the shop. Either, nationwide fighting comes out between everyone due to scarcity, due to pandemics, due to government instability, whatever, or some sort of invasion, what would we do type thing. Most everybody is combat vets, so it's kind of just fun to theorize some of this stuff and play these type of war games in our heads. But especially with it actually, in all honesty, the chances, I don't know about you, the chances of actually getting invaded, I think, are slim to none, just because the people are so well armed.
Yeah.
First of all, Russia's getting their ass kicked in Ukraine by civilians who were just recently handed AKs. I mean, it's not going well for them. Granted, that's not just the AKs. It's literally Afghanistan 2.0 for them. They were doing fine till we started to arm the Taliban with surface-to-air missiles. They were doing okay in Ukraine till we armed the Ukrainians with Javelin missile systems to take out tanks and other anti-tank stuff. So, seems to be repeating itself here. You think they'd learn by now. So, the chances of seeing them actually try to invade the U.S., I don't see going well, because I would venture to say that we are, as a populace as a whole, way more significantly armed, trained, and ready for something than Ukraine even.
I mean, it also depends on how many people have teamed up with them that they don't like us too. So, I mean, that's
kind of our theory today. So we'll spend the first part of the segment kind of setting the scenario, and then the rest of the show discussing things. So here's the scenario. It's 2024 in the midst of a contested election. Russia's gone nuclear. The United States and most of Europe has made a move against that. And Iran, China, North Korea has jumped on Russia's side. And as a surprise move, knowing our borders aren't secure, started with an initial invasion through Mexico, and launching from Cuba, an air assault has tried to launch a full-scale invasion into the United States. So we understand we're reaching here. This is just more for entertainment's sake / learning a little bit about tactical knowledge, planning stuff out, gear prepping, stuff like that is what you can take out of it. But you never know. I mean, you always want to plan for the worst. So if you have a plan for this type of scenario, then God forbid if it ever happens, you at least have an inkling of an idea what to do, and you're not caught with your proverbial pants down. So you've got this.
I may or may not have been in a Porta-John a couple times during an attack, and it's like pants were down, but then it
happens.
I don't know if I started firing first or if I pulled them up first. I don't remember.
Probably, honestly, I would assume, you
probably just ran out there. Yeah,
it happens. People don't think it'd be like it do, but it does. So you've got this situation. You step out. You're hearing stuff on the news. You know something's about to happen. You're not sure what. You hear tons of aircraft buzzing, yelling, maybe some shots. Step outside, and all of a sudden, you see vehicles moving all over the place. Highways are going crazy. They're trying to shut stuff down, and little green dudes parachuting through the sky. So, what type of gear would you want? What sort of plans do you have? What sort of tactics would you do? Would you try to hide your guns and comply and wait for some underground movement to start up and then join? Would you assault right off the bat? Would you have any idea what to do? What happens? So, starting with the basics of gear.
Stage things different places.
Yeah. Do you even have...
like safe house kind of deals.
Yeah, and do you even have the equipment personally to even help out? I mean, that's great if you have guns, but realistically, if you've got your old 30-06 bolt action, your Remington 870 shotgun, and your Colt 1911, it's better than nothing. But okay, with that scenario, you got some MREs and some water and some old Polish World War II gas masks, and you've been deer hunting for a while and you go to the range once a month or so. What kind of help can you be? What is your plans? What will your actions on target be? So, starting with that and gear, what sort, without giving away all your entire arsenal you have at home, in this situation, what would your go-to immediate gear that you would want to make sure you grab right off the bat and have set up ready to go? Like, you have enough time to grab gear, pack an assault pack, load magazines. What would your go-to kit be? And again, for any listeners, while he's debating this, I'm
like, what do I want to tell them that I have and don't
I want
have?
the Uzi with the high tops. If anybody wants to call and give their input, 636-224-6300.
I mean, I've definitely taken a lot of stuff off the plate carrier and put on like a battle belt to kind of like, things have definitely changed from what we were used to overseas. I did a lot of stuff on like on foot and not inside vehicles, but yeah, there would be some vehicle traffic, like get in, drive somewhere, drop some guys off, drop some equipment off, whatever. So I mean, I'd have my plate carrier, one of the old trusty 5.56 with me for sure. Looking at it right now, I definitely need to get a 7.62x39. I need to get an AK because I mean I don't know. I shot one of my buddies a couple days ago and I was like, dude, I don't know why I haven't gotten an AK yet, but I'm like.
I just hold that against you.
Well, between Mark and Jeremiah and all those guys are like, dude, you got to get an AK. Well, how many people come at us? I mean, we go against people with AKs all the time.
Literally, the whole most of the rest of the world, save who would be our quote unquote allies, most likely, are running 7.62x39 AKs or some sort of variant.
I mean, I'm still going to have my 5.56, but I mean, it'd be nice to be able to pick up and stockpile the 7.62x39 after you've been stacking bodies. So I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I'd have that. I mean, you got your flashbangs and definitely go with a blade of some sort because I mean you might have to get up close and personal and do some either right to left or left to right depending on the situation. And I mean,
I'd say on top of it too, I like one of our other employees. One of his ideas, his first response, which I liked, was get some sort of a swap Bearcat or steal a Brinks truck or something and hit up a CVS or some sort of pharmacy. And that was something I had never thought of before. But yeah, stock up on medical supplies, painkillers for if somebody's wounded. I hate to say, maybe even some sort of stimulant, Adderall or something like that, just to be able to stay awake, keep going, because it's
just visit Franklin County, dude. That's all you'd have to do for that.
That's a good point there. It's about to be a rough couple weeks if you're in that scenario. But more importantly, all the medical gear, antibiotics,
Oh yeah.
stuff like that.
And we're not talking for like a small little wussy dog bite or something like that. I mean, we're talking like someone actually getting torn up.
Yeah, like actual painful damage.
Yeah.
Not a flesh wound. So that I had never actually thought about that, but that was pretty brilliant. We'll be back. We'll continue on with this completely arbitrarily done scenario right after this break, guys. We'll be right back. We are back, guys. So we're talking about a theoretical forefront invasion of the United States by, the suspected usual suspects. And what that would look like, what plans might be, what type of gear you might want. Again, this is just completely for fun. This is all hypothetical, but it's just, I don't know. Is there something wrong with us that we have these discussions and plot all this out in case it happens? It's kind of morbid, but at the same time, it is a lot of fun.
We've lived that though. It's like an everyday mission planning while being deployed in a combat area. I mean, all you're doing is same thing, just making sure you're going to survive if something like that happens. I mean, we've seen that. You're somewhere on an outpost somewhere, and they're like, hey, we're about to get overrun. So you go pull out the party ball that's got it's basically a body bag with ammo, grenades, smoke, all sorts of stuff. And they're like, hey, set this up, and this is what we got. This is what we got to use.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've already been trained to do that. We've already done it in real life situations. So it's to not do it and not prepare for it would be kind of stupid.
That that reminds me of something I think some people or a lot of people would be missing is having a good assault pack, a good 3-day assault pack. Whether you need to grab a whole bunch of stuff and bounce, whether the U.S. has been successfully taken over and you're going to either disappear in the woods or you've established some sort of safety zone and you're going to punch out and run patrols your own. And either way, I can think of a bajillion scenarios even outside of this where having a good assault pack is just a good option.
Well, even multiples you'd have one assault pack as a medical bag.
Yeah.
And one assault pack has your extra mags, extra ammo. Obviously we don't have frags.
Tools are a big one. Guns break and you want to be able to actually work on them.
My armor toolkit is in one of them too. I mean, I take that back and forth with me every day.
Yeah. Again, medical equipment, more than just the IFAK you have on your plate carrier battle belt, but we're talking off air, an entire duffel bag of, saline to be able to run IVs, IV starter lock kits, tons of gauze, tape, bandages.
A lot of people don't think about this stuff. You get the SAM splints. You can use those for splinting, or if you got one that's been used for training or whatever, you can cut handles into the sides and you actually use those as a litter kind of thing. You put one in the front, one in the back. You got your nylon webbing you can do that with, your basic ratchet strap tie down, just a nylon webbing.
I hate to sound ridiculous, but even throw a couple pairs of extra socks in there. Have extra socks, have some Tylenol, ibuprofen, Motrin, stuff like that, Neosporin, just a little bit of everything. So you've got a complete blowout for, not just the combat type aid, but just the sustain. You're having to rough it because everything's compromised and you're trying to evade the invading forces and be able to establish some sort of a perimeter. Would you, in my mind, we already have a plan that most of us would all just link up with each other and punch out, have some sort. Would you think we'd have some sort of established area we take over and punch out different assaults from there? Or would it just be kind of roving around hitting things till we get smoke checked or make a massive difference?
I mean, I know there's one place we definitely pull security on at least and have as a rally point would be TacticalSht.T.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we have supplies there.
Yeah.
But it's depending on, I guess, where everything's going, what the deal is. I mean, just the employees there of ours. I mean, we've got enough to sustain with that. I mean,
in my mind, I would want to be close to a town, but not in it. Because you'd want to be able to punch counter assaults and you would assume they would set up in the local populace inside towns. They probably wouldn't want to venture out to the country because that would require way too much work for them. They'd punch out there, but they'd want to have their battle positions within a town, just like we did. I mean, that's what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. I would assume they would follow the same thing. We would then take on the role of an insurgency where we would strike back, but I would want to be out of the city, be able to have a fallback area to go to.
Have a fallback area like Marthasville. You'd be able to guerrilla warfare. Perfect. I mean, they got to come down the roads. You can't get through much. I mean, there's only a certain ways in unless they want to swim the river.
Yeah.
So, okay, swim the river. That's fish in a barrel.
Oh, yeah.
Drive over the bridge. Okay, cool. That's fish in a barrel, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
vehicles.
Plenty of open fields that you can set up a long distance. I don't know, like a 50 BMG or something.
You definitely want extra vehicles to get a hold of. Everybody bring their own. You'd want a mixture of, I'd say, cars, SUVs, and trucks. Trucks to be able to haul stuff.
Good thing is you can always find the Kias and Hyundais because you can...
Yeah, that's a good point to know of. So again, if you're just jumping in and trying to figure out what the hell is going on the show now, we are discussing and theorizing that if this whole thing with Russia and Ukraine basically resulted in World War III, which then because of poor leadership in our current country, resulting in an attempted invasion within the U.S. by a multilateral force of like Mexico, North Korea, China, Russia, and Iran, or some sort of combination thereof, punching in from Mexico and then using Cuba as a launching platform to launch airborne drops into the U.S. Theoretically, I think if it was going to happen, that's actually the most accurate way it would happen.
I mean, me looking at it, if I was looking to like be the guys like going to attack a country with leadership, all that. I mean, that's how you have to think. Like, that's what you have to think of. What would I do?
The border's already wide open.
Yeah.
Like, you could probably start sending in squads at a time of, like, a reconnaissance force or a strike team or a special ops team now.
How many?
That may have already happened.
I'm not even trying to say, like, I mean, yeah, like, there are people that cross the border left and right all day long.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but as common as that is, how many could you sneak over in a group thinking they're just immigrants coming across the border? Okay,
I mean, some of the Ruskies and North Koreans might stand out a little bit. Yeah, you could probably get some Iranians to pass and get unnoticed.
Yeah,
or any sort of jihadi. So you're looking at this type of scenario, and then we're kind of reflecting on what kind of plan do you have? What type of fighting are you capable of? What type of fighting would you experience locally? What type of gear would you want to have? So we've talked about some of the basic gear. This is when lightweight plates come in handy, because either way, you're going to be humping it a bit, whether you're out in the boonies or you're coming out in town and you're going to do some sort of ambush, foot patrol. Do you have a plate carrier and armor that you can spend 10 to 12 hours or 3 to 4 days nonstop in?
As long as it weighs less than the E-Sappies we wore overseas, I'm good.
Hydration source. Not a huge deal because you can throw bottled water in a backpack, but we just covered
even those tablets for. I mean, like you got a stream going by, fill up a bottle of water from the stream, and throw those tablets in. You got extra water,
or the one that has it like built into the straw.
Yeah,
something like that's real solid.
Oh, you were talking about the extra vehicles too. You're going to need extra fuel sources for that too.
Extra fuel sources.
So I mean, like obviously you go back in like Marthasville, like some of these farm country areas. They've got their farms with their big like farm storage of fuel, both diesel and gasoline. So I mean, make friends with some of the farmers out there too.
Yeah, because I guarantee if you establish a relationship like, hey, we're trying to fight back, you'll get help. You'll make alliances and stuff. We'll continue to play this absolutely ridiculous game once we get back. Sorry if this is boring, but for us, we discuss this all the time.
Fun, though,
it really is. We'll be right back, guys. And we are back. If you were just tuning in, we've been theorizing a completely made-up theoretical invasion of the U.S., and kind of what gear we would want to make sure we have, what we'd use, what that would look like, what a response would be. And, I mean, you could easily do like a whole week's worth of radio shows of breaking down different things. But so far we've covered a plethora of having medical gear on hand, the importance of a good 3-day bag or assault bag or some sort of large pack you can wear for a sustained amount of time. We've got what else? You would want some sort of 7.62 by 39. I would rock my standard AR-15 5.56.
I mean, I'd still rock that. I'm just saying, like, I would have that as a backup because we're not going to run out of that.
We got a caller. How about that? Somebody didn't find us as boring as I thought. Who do we got, Fish?
Got Glen.
How's it going, Glenn? What can we do for you?
I was just great conversation, by the way. It's always interesting. I mean, basically, that scenario doesn't have to be about home invasion, a country invasion. It could be an EMP, or we're sitting on the biggest fault in the world.
Absolutely.
Off any minute too.
Absolutely.
So this whole scenario you're talking about could be any of those things, but we do have a group of we're prepared for all that stuff. So we've got combat veterans in our group. We're going through training. We've got a provisional group, and it's right up. It's about 30 minutes from St. Louis. So if that's something you guys have an interest in, let me know, and I'll send you some information.
Absolutely. Feel free to stop by the shop too. There's
definitely.
Everybody's. I have a feeling there's probably more groups organized like this than the average person thinks, and that's kind of just what we're encouraging. Is have a group of your range buddies, your shooting buddies, and that even if this never happens, the idea that there is tens of thousands and hopefully hundreds of thousands of Americans who have this type of planning, have this type of gear and capability and practice for this very thing is the very thing that helps prevent this from ever actually happening.
Yeah.
Or like you said, God forbid, we have the New Madrid fault go out, some sort of natural disaster, something crazy happens, all hell breaks loose and anarchy reigns. What kind of plan do you have? That would shape slightly different. I definitely would not be an assault force if that happened, and more. Well, I mean,
you got people coming in doing looting and stuff and start doing all that normally happens. I mean, at that point you'd be an assault force. I mean,
you'd have to go raid to get supplies and stuff.
I'm just saying, you got
one of my favorite sayings, gentlemen. We're 9 minutes away from mass chaos.
Yeah, that is 100% truth right there. I don't know. That's almost me every day. More like 2 meals away from chaos.
All right, gentlemen, great show. Love listening to you guys.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah, thank you.
So, continuing on, that's a great point. That's what we're trying to say is it's more than just the impending invasion. I just feel like it's easier with that to be a little bit looser and broader spectrum. I, for one, would definitely find a way to secure my family first, and then I am 100% all about assaulting back. Studied the insurgency enough that I know what tripped us up, what really made it difficult for us to operate versus what was kind of a joke. Where it be complex ambushes. The guerrilla tactics are something that it's really hard to combat.
Yeah.
No matter how much training you have, you're reacting to guerrilla style attacks, to an insurgency, something like that. You are always having to be on the reactive side. It's very hard to be proactive. Our version of proactive was basically drive around picking a fight and trying to gain intel, see who suspects might be, and plan raids to try to catch them before an attack. Rarely did that pay out. I mean, maybe it did more than we know, but for the most part, I'd say most of our time was being a reactionary force and reacting to an event rather than being proactive and stopping an insurgency.
Yeah. I mean, there was something, you had some of the places where you had snipers set up that areas that were common for IEDs. I mean, you got someone come up, start planting an ID, sniper smokes them, leaves a body there. Someone else comes up to, we're going to go ahead and plant this ID. Just stack the bodies. Eventually, someone's going to be like, dude, there's 10, 15 people laying here. Maybe we should try another spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that always works too.
It is usually quite helpful. What's another one? The stay light, stay mobile type mindset. You want to be able to move fast. I would never want to, I'd want to prepare, but never plan on having a sustained engagement.
Yeah.
that's one thing that always got us was they'd hit, and by the time we could assemble and react, they're gone. That type is mentally draining and frustrating, but it's also tactically very proficient and effective to be able to hit hard. You don't even have to inflict huge casualties or damage or anything, but just the fact of getting hit and before you can even react, they're gone is just very frustrating and demeaning and gets morale down. So that type of warfare, fantastic.
Another thing that just popped into my mind about having for like gear wise, a drone, just a regular photography drone.
Yeah,
because you can fly it over. You can see like, okay, there's something over here. We're not sure exactly, like we're taking fire or whatever, or there's a hazard or whatever. I mean, you can fly it over and see. I mean, you can look on your iPad or your iPhone or whatever, and you're like, oh, cool, yeah, there's here, and yeah, we can go this way though. I mean, that's the same thing we used UAVs for over there. I mean,
and it works.
Oh yeah.
On the other side of that too, then it shows you clear routes where you're safe to move, where you're safe to maneuver through. What else? You could have some sort of established operating base to work out of.
I think that would be necessary. At least have something where you've got like, I mean, like we had like our talk or whatever, like something that like everything kind of comes back to.
I think you'd want to be able to be very mobile with it and break it down, collapse, roll out, and set up somewhere else fast. So that means along with the plan, you should have some sort of multiple points. Like, okay, if all else fails, go to point B, go to point C, D, whatever. That's going to be
radio
key.
Operators. Like one of my buddies, he's retired JTAC from the Air Force. He's a ham radio operator, so having something like that to where he can set up mobily as we go. You always have communication.
Yeah.
So
now on that note, though, you'll have to assume that all your communication is unsecure. Everything's being listened in. We did that with the Taliban.
Yeah.
I was never in Afghanistan, but everybody told me you could openly hear the Taliban's radios.
Well, I mean, there were times too that we would feed information for that purpose.
Oh yeah.
So
and it works quite well.
Oh yeah.
So assume that, all communications, you either want to have brevity codes and keep it as vague as possible, or again, you can use that to your advantage to leak information. Over time, they're going to be able to pick up on that. But know that radios, while work great, are either going to be jammed entirely or observed and listened to.
Yeah.
And again, I'm pretty sure there's technology out there that can triangulate and track radio signals.
Oh, yeah.
And especially these days with what I'm seeing in Ukraine with the drone usage, they're dropping mortars on small squad size elements of people.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the other thing is I would definitely not maneuver in anything bigger than a squad. Probably more like a 4 to 7 man team is what I'd want to
just multiple fire teams.
Yeah. I think the key to any of this, no matter whether it's an invasion, natural disaster, all hell breaks loose, anarchy, whatever, is the ability to stay mobile and move and adapt fast to changing situations and scenarios, to be able to react quickly, to be able to plan properly, have a good group of friends you can work with and kind of play these types of games over with, and have a go-to core group of people you would want to work with.
Yeah.
And a basic understanding of a little bit of everything. Try to pull people in who are experts on something. If you can get a nurse to have somebody on the medical side, excellent. If you've got a gunsmith or your buddy, everybody takes their guns to have their gun worked on or helped with or a build done with, have him as your armor. If you've got somebody who's, great deer hunter and is a great long range shooter or something, there's your sniper.
I mean, at that too, I mean, if there's someone like you were talking about earlier, like maybe they've just been hunting all their life and what can they contribute? Okay, well, hey, they can, worst case scenario, there's no way to get food. Let them hunt. Let them be the ones that provide the food for it.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone can commit somehow. They can put a hand in somehow, some way.
And we've talked about this before. Make sure you're an asset, not a liability.
Yeah.
if anything like this happens, find your weaknesses and what you can do to strengthen those, and find your strengths and what you can use to contribute using that. Because there's going to need to be multiple roles for this. Ammo, that's a hard one. Lots of people want a storage 5, 10, 20, 30,000 rounds per caliber. That's great and all. How much can you physically carry? I don't know how many people have humped ammo. You and me have. And just a combat loadout of 180, 240 rounds is hefty of 5.56. God forbid you're into a heavier caliber like 30-06, 308, something like that. That weight adds up fast.
Running that 240.
Yeah, you start adding some belts or extra mags and some ammo boxes in a backpack, that gets really heavy fast. So, yeah, you've got 500, 1,000 rounds of ammo on you, but how mobile are you now? How quick are you able to run around? So you've got to have a trade-off of, that's why there's ASPs, ammo supply points, is key locations you can set up. And, okay, this is our ammo supply point. We're going to have ammo stashed here. So load up before you go out and go do something, download and re-up when you get back. That's the type of stuff you've got to look at, too. Multiple vehicles. You want to have, I'd say, an assortment of everything. Cars to be able to just kind of blend in, look low profile, and fit in. Obviously, an SUV for running a larger crew or kind of an assault vehicle. Trucks work great as like a medevac vehicle.
HGVs and ORV, like side-by-sides and stuff, too. I mean,
yeah,
we mounted crew-serve weapons on those in the military and used those as assault vehicles.
Yeah, those were great, too. Dirt bikes as well. A lot of special forces uses dirt bikes.
You can get around a lot of
Diesel
places.
dirt bikes, too. That's cool.
I mean, you can take a deer trail or a goat trail or something like that on one. I mean, you just weave in and out. And
yeah.
I rode dirt bikes for years. You can get anywhere on those things.
Yeah. Downfall, they're loud. People are going to hear it coming for a while. So no matter what, you're going to have to then stop and go on foot at some point. We're taking a break. We'll be right back after this message, guys. We are back finishing this last segment here. And again, this is an awkward time to join in at this point. We've been talking about, anarchy situation, all hell breaks loose, invasion by like China, North Korea, and Russia, and what that would look like. So we've talked some about what gear, having a plan, some of the basic stuff and equipment you'd want. What's some other stuff? What are we missing? Here's my whole train of thought of what I'd do. Grab one of my 5.56s. I'd obviously want to run suppressed. Want something I could do close quarters with. In fact, I'd probably even bring another upper with me and throw it in an assault pack.
Grab another suppressor because I don't have one. So
I got you. So that way, I can switch between CQB and everything else if needed.
Yeah.
Obviously, step one would be make sure my family's secure. Step two would be it's time to go to work. First thing I'd want to do, first and foremost, we're using straight old school BAMSIS here. Did you guys have that in the Army?
Have what?
BAMSIS.
BAMSIS.
So it's like the basic planning to a mission. Basically, the first thing you're going to do is begin recon. You're going to want to go around, nondescript, blend in.
Yep.
Depending on, what the situation is, you're going to have to read that and just assess. Look around, watch things. You're going to arrange recon, make recon, go through, do a full reconnaissance. Who, what, when, where, why. What's your enemy? Is their patrol schedule? What's their equipment? What type of gear are they using? Are they fully armored and tanks and other stuff? If so, if you notice they're wearing plate carriers, then it's time to switch to green tip. No plate carriers, you can get away with running ball ammo. That's an important thing to know. What sort of vehicles? Are they using local national vehicles, pickup trucks and stuff, or do they have up-armored vehicles? That's going to change how you engage as well, what type of planning you do. Where are they sticking to? Do they have a key location, headquarters, supply points, stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Number one, first thing you want to do is start hitting supply points and supply chains. That's the quickest way to devastate something like that. You can hit them head on, but that's only going to work so well for so long before you get led into a trap or an ambush of some sort.
You have to change it every time almost. I mean,
yeah.
I don't even know that I'd want to do the same plan twice.
No, you're always want to change it up. Urban, you want to make it fast. I would not want to just start clearing buildings and taking stuff down. That's you're playing a waiting game at that point before you bite the bullet. So arrange recon, you're making recon, issue orders. Okay. According to what recon we found, what we've done, what assessments we've made, here's the plan. And then the last of BAMSOS is, of course, supervise. In this case, you're actually going to go out, go to work. So recon, what I'm getting at is the first thing we want to do before you make any rash decisions and react, unless you have to, is recon the area. Start with, especially where you're at. It may seem fine where you're at. 10 mile circumference around you, 20 mile circumference around you, 30 mile circumference. Keep stepping out and make sure you're logging all this in. So one thing I learned in Iraq that is really helpful for any situation, really, when you're talking at this level, is atmospherics. To be able to read what's going on, patterns, consistencies, inconsistencies. For example, I knew that between, and I can't remember for sure, so I'm going to make up hours, but I believe it was roughly around this time, 12 to 4 o'clock, the market would be busy, no matter what day of the week. So if we roll into the market at 2:30 in the afternoon and everybody's closed up and it's dead, something isn't right, and you may want to get ready for something.
GTFO.
Yeah. It's either time to bounce or get ready for a fight because something's wrong. So have atmospherics. Get to know that, hey, here's a pattern that every Wednesday they travel this route. Do they hit main supply routes? Are they going the same, leaving the same gate, the same entrance or exit every time? Are they going to and from a certain building every time? Do they have certain routes? Is there any routes you can establish, patterns you can establish? Are they launching foot patrols? Are you seeing some of the same people at the same time? Have you established leadership and commanders and stuff? And basically patterns is all you're looking for, is you're just trying to establish patterns and then recognize when it breaks that pattern. Now remember, most likely, if they're any good, they're doing the same thing. Yeah. So the key to that, make sure you're not establishing a pattern. Constantly change things up. Don't come in and go out the same way. If you're looking to set them into an ambush, you use that same pattern to get them into an ambush. Exactly.
I mean, you just got to be smart of what you're doing.
That was,
and know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, don't do it. Let someone else do it.
Yeah, and don't go beyond what you know how to do. But just little things like that, being able to have atmospherics of what patterns look like, what's normal, what's not, what stands out. Maintaining your gear. Do you know how to work on your own firearms? How many times, I'm not being mean on this one, but how many times have you had people come in who can't install an optic on their own rifle? Where I get if you don't want to build your own upper, that's a little bit more intimidating. But how many times have you been asked to put a vertical grip on a gun for someone, or an optic?
All the time. Or
set up a sling for someone? How are you supposed to use that sling properly if you don't know how to even install it yourself? No, I get everybody starts somewhere.
Or someone that buys a tactical flashlight for their firearm, and they put the batteries in, like, oh man, I can't get this thing to work. Okay, well, what's wrong with it? Well, I put the batteries in, it's not working. Open up the battery compartment, there's no batteries. He's like, well, I put them down here. I was like, that's your spare compartment, dude. Like, that's where you put the spare batteries.
Whoops.
You got to put batteries up here so you can turn it on.
And again, we get everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts, how are you supposed to learn if you don't know? But make sure.
Ask.
Yeah, ask and make sure you're not having them do it so they do it for you, and that you're having them show you. If you get a sling put on your rifle, have them show you how to set it up. Watch. Okay, putting an optic on, I'm pretty sure you should be able to figure that out yourself. Scope is a different story. I can understand it's a bit more. Yeah, but hey, will you put this EOTech on for me? Bro, really? Really? If you can't do that, you probably shouldn't be operating a firearm. So some stuff is just common sense, should be figured out. Same with like installing a vertical grip. If you can't figure out how to install a vertical grip on your gun, maybe you shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to cover this theoretical thing of if all hell broke loose, do you have a plan? Do you have gear? Do you know how to use your gear? And think these little war games. It's just fun. If anything, it makes for a good hour of talking with your friends at the bar over a cigar or something.
Speaking of that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I say we do that. We'll be right back. Actually, no, we won't. What am I saying? This is it for today, guys. We will be back on tomorrow, same time, same people. Stay tuned.
Tomorrow Saturday.
I am really.
Back Monday.
Just go away.